right, when you have the three pillars of Mount Rushmore all available on a Thursday, you change it from Thursday back to, or from Friday to Thursday back to Friday. So we're here on Thursday.
Right.
So it'll either be Thursday or Friday, depending. In studio for the board meeting, Tony Messenger wearing his Denver Broncos jersey, number 26.
Bring on the big game, baby.
He was regaling us how many 26s there have been since he purchased the jersey.
How many?
Clinton Portis, Tatum Bell, Darren Williams, Raheem Moore, none of whom will be playing in the Super Bowl on Sunday, which is why I'm wearing my Champ Bailey jersey on Sunday. I've got it all scheduled out for the week.
Wow.
You look good in orange.
Wow.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Now you
Got
know,
this from Rob
Big
Ford.
pumpkin.
now you know the cross Deb Peterson has to bear every day at work.
I think, yeah, we're getting
Omaha.
a better picture.
Tony Messenger is the editorial page editor of the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. Jane Duker is here, former chief of staff to Governor Holden and all-around gadfly here in town. Good morning, Jane Duker.
Good morning, McGraw.
John Deal is keeping the world safe for democracy and from liberals down in Jefferson City as Speaker in the House in waiting. Jane Duker, will start with you. This week, it came out that St. Louis County Crime Lab is in complete disarray. It sounds like it's a petri dish from my refrigerator back in college.
Yeah.
And background checks are going on. Explain what's going on today at the bad news in St. Louis County.
Well, it is hard to go a week without another story of some sort of debacle in St. Louis County. And what came out this week was that the crime lab that was the subject of the contract involving police board member Greg Sansone that has now been submitted to the FBI for further investigation. That was a contract for the HVAC work at the crime lab, and now come to find out that the HVAC is not working well. And
not only not working, it's dripping.
It's dripping. There are people concerned about whether it will, spoliate evidence. It's. I mean, I know no one would be shocked that sort of an insider contract would go bad, but we're seeing the results of it.
But as a lawyer or a defense attorney, anytime you bring evidence
Right.
now, you can say, well, your crime lab
Right.
isn't up to standards. How do we know my guy actually did this because of your crime lab?
Well, and that's always going to be a problem, and it's going to be something they're going to have to deal with. I mean, it has these kind of things have wide-ranging effects, and so it's a problem. And then you have another sort of law enforcement problem, because now the chief of police is now having to investigate whether the county executive's driver, who happens to be a police officer, one or two of them, are running background checks and accessing Regis, unauthorized, which is the state system that collates and keeps together all the crime data on people, basically.
So Charlie Dooley's driver is doing background checks.
Well, that's what it appears.
Well,
and so
he's just staying busy during his downtime.
Right.
So when he's in meetings, he's kind of coming in. And
right.
And the issue here isn't whether or not background checks should be done on potential board appointments.
Absolutely.
They absolutely should be, and if they weren't being done before, that's another problem.
Well, they weren't. That's why they passed an ordinance.
It's a matter of who does them.
Correct.
It's important within law enforcement that there isn't an abuse of that system, so that people aren't just randomly checking criminal backgrounds on their enemies, on their ex-wives, on whatever. And so there's an ethic to it. And
there's actually a law that makes it a crime if you access it for improper purposes.
Well, there's also well-established procedures. Now, I've been appointed to state boards before I got in the General Assembly, and I would, when I did the election board, I was appointed chairman of that. I'd have to fill out and undergo a highway patrol background check.
Did you come back clean?
I think I did.
Okay, I'm just checking.
I had a few things to clean up there.
We need to ask Charlie Dooley's driver.
Right. He'll give you an updated version.
Right. But the way the state does it, it's done through the highway patrol. And
you
if there's
consent.
an issue, then it's reported to a gatekeeper in the Senate
Right.
who does the confirmation. It's not something
or
where just
the governor's
anybody
office.
can go
Right.
do it.
And I used to supervise them. And so when an appointee comes, they sign a waiver that says, yes, I authorize you to go check out my background.
But it's limited in who gets to see it. There are all sorts
Absolutely.
of privacy concerns.
And there are rules that apply. And so this, I think one of the things that's being investigated is, well, one, we always had the Highway Patrol, and I'm sure the Senate, use the Highway Patrol so that it's out of your office. I mean, you want the investigation to actually be impartial, and you want it to be worth the paper it's written on, not just on the back of a napkin. And so, I think that's important for the public to realize that someone objective is looking at it. And so, so the chief is investigating whether it went beyond appointees. I mean, it may not have just been appointees who may have agreed to it. It may have gone beyond that. And Regis tracks every person has an ID number, and so Regis tracks who accesses the system, and it tracks whose records were accessed. So,
So do we know who Charlie Dooley's driver background checked?
No, not yet. But law enforcement, because
somebody will figure it out.
But it is a crime if you illegally access it. So the chief, I believe, does have authority to determine whether that it's been accessed illegally. And so I'm assuming that during the investigation that's going to be determined. And there's been lawsuits in Missouri, multi-million-dollar verdicts for people who do this illegally, police officers. And
so you're telling me that somebody who was processed or checked out through this driver has recourse and can sue the county?
Potentially, yes. Potentially, yes. And that's, it's an invasion of privacy. It's illegal.
Yeah, if they haven't signed the proper
waivers
if
they haven't
and
authorized
authorizations.
it.
That's right.
And here's the big picture and this goes more to the crime lab situation than the background check situation, because we don't know a whole lot about the background check situation yet. But anybody who looks at the crime lab situation from beginning to end sees massive corruption. We know that the contract shouldn't have been let out to a police board member, and then that led to the police board being just eviscerated and then unable to get a quorum. And Charlie Dooley's response to all of this is, "Oh, this is just politics."
It's not me.
It's not me. It's people below me. But he hasn't done anything
to change
about the
his behavior.
people below him except for move a different spokesperson in place. And so there has been no accountability to the public. And anybody who looks at the details of this situation can see clearly this is not just some political witch hunt. You have a crime lab that right now has serious problems, and every defense attorney with any brains is going to forever hold up the front page story in the Post-Dispatch the other day in a court hearing and say that evidence isn't being used against my client, and then they're going to get the ability to go into the crime lab and determine whether or not the evidence was. It's going to make every prosecution more expensive. It's going to make it less likely that they can put bad guys away. This is not just a simple political witch hunt. This is incompetence that has allowed this to fester, and the county executive has yet to answer for any of it, and that's the problem.
And he doesn't think he has to. That's the disturbing part. I mean, all the facts on the background check issue haven't even come out yet, but he is already on record saying, well, it wasn't me. I mean, that's the go-to line. And, I mean, I'm shocked that no other politician I've ever seen in my career has gotten away with that. I mean, you have numerous FBI investigations. You have spoliation of evidence. You have people who, commit suicide because they've been alerted to an investigation. You have, I mean, I can't even name all the list. And, and it's a pattern.
They'd make a great reality TV show.
Well, everyone would think it was made up. They would think that actually think it was made up.
On a reality
no
TV show, you kick somebody off the island.
Exactly.
Probably eventually.
Right,
Maybe we
right.
should have like a duck dynasty in
You're
St.
right.
Louis.
Who should be taken off the island?
We keep hearing rumors, FBI this, FBI that. Do we know anything about this FBI investigation, about anything, or when it might be coming down?
Well, no. Like a normal, government agency, they're doing their job, and they're doing it in secret, which is what they're supposed to do. And I'm assuming they're doing a proper investigation, and and what it is, and what will come out is what will come out. And the criminal stuff, I mean, that's going to take care of itself. But the bottom line is, even if you take out that issue, it's unacceptable on every level to have a county executive of anything. No corporate executive would get away with it. No boss would get away with the complete lack of accountability. And, as I said, I mean, secretaries over there better hide, because they're going to be looking for somebody to blame.
The primary with Steve Stenger is in August?
Yes.
Any Republicans have thrown their hat into the ring to be county executive?
Not heard yet, but filing opens toward the end of February.
One person has announced. Tony Pasusa
Tony
has
Pasusa,
announced. I mean, but you're right. Filing's not open, so it's not technical.
So we're
but
still a little early.
And I still think
announced.
it is what it was before. I think there's going to be some waiting to see whether Dooley actually
runs again.
runs.
Right.
So there's a chance, you think, with the three of you, have you heard room? I mean, there's a chance he might say, thank you, I've had enough, and walk out?
He should.
Well, I know he should, but what's he going to do?
I mean,
I don't have any specific intelligence, but I just been around politics long enough. You don't know until
it actually happens.
Until he says it. All right.
But I mean, the lack of self-awareness makes me concerned that he doesn't realize that he ought not.
That is Jane Duker, Tony Messenger from the Post, editorial page editor of the Post. John Deal, Speaker of the House in waiting, Majority Leader right now. Jane Duker, we're going to come back, talk more. The board meeting is in session here on the Big 550.
Omaha.
KTRS.